Well, good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Farzy Show. My name is Marc Farzetta here at the Steven Singer Studios. We got Phillies conversation to get into. They get a walk-off win, folks. Almost literally a walk-off win where you could just walk off. Like, you walked to get the run, and then you walked off. You were done. That's pretty much it. It doesn't get much easier than that, as a matter of fact. So we got the Phillies a little bit. The Eagles just had all their press conferences yesterday. Everybody addressed the media on a fine Wednesday afternoon. Jalen Hurts, we'll hear from him on the show today. Nick Sirianni addressed the media yesterday as well, where he talked about facing DeMeco Ryans' defense out there in San Francisco. DeMeco Ryans, one-time Eagles linebacker, long-time Eagles linebacker, actually played more than a cup of coffee here in Philadelphia, mostly during the Chip Kelly era here in Philly. So we'll get into that conversation. We'll also hear from Darius Slay, because one of the things I've been talking about with the San Francisco 49ers offense is that you have seen this before, Philadelphia. You have seen this before, Eagles secondary, Eagles linebackers, Eagles defensive line, in terms of having a smattering of another quarterback thrown into the mix. You have seen that before, like you're going to see with Trey Lance and you're going to see with Jimmy Garoppolo. Garoppolo obviously started for the 49ers last week in their 41-point performance against the Detroit Lions, and started to allow the Detroit Lions to get back in that game a little bit later. Actually, I believe they were outscored 23-3 in the second half, if I'm not mistaken. But that was after some injuries befell the 49ers, most notably Raheem Mostert, their running back, who's done for the season. But one of the things I've kept on saying is that you've seen this before. You have seen Jimmy Garoppolo. You have seen Trey Lance in the form of Carson Wentz and Jalen Hurts. You have seen those kind of different quarterbacks out there, at least in practice. You have seen this before. A guy like Joe Flacco might be able to help out in this scenario, just in terms of scheme, in terms of what two quarterbacks can do. Because if you remember, Lamar Jackson was sprinkled in there with Joe Flacco while they were both with the Ravens. You have seen this before. You should be able to expect what's going to be coming in some way, shape, or form. You should be able to see this. You should be able to call on some past experiences when you have a different quarterback sprinkled into the mix. One of the other things we can look at in this game is the Jets. The New York Jets obviously have Saleh, their new head coach, who was once the defensive coordinator, a longtime defensive coordinator with the San Francisco 49ers. They run very similar defenses. Actually, friend of the show, Mike K. Congrats, by the way, to Mike K. Just celebrated 3 years at NJ.com. He asked this question yesterday. Do you look at the Jets from practicing against them this preseason? Do you look at the Jets and say, all right, well, that's the type of defense they run. It's going to be similar to what we're going to see there in San Francisco. And Jalen Hurts played it right. He said, I'm trying not to mix teams, basically. I'm trying to keep everything individual. But you can't help but call upon that as a defense you have seen before, a defense where you might be a little bit more familiar with their tendencies because you at least have practiced against them in those really tough preseason practices. So hopefully they can draw something on that. There should be enough, hopefully, familiarity with what the Jets are doing. Or excuse me, now I'm on the Jets. With what the San Francisco 49ers are doing versus what the Jets had done for you in the preseason. And also, you should be able to call upon past experiences with defending against two quarterbacks, like the 49ers are going to be rolling out there on Sunday in South Philadelphia. So a lot to get into today, a lot to unpack. We'll get into the Phillies a little bit later on, but I want to start it off with this conversation. Yesterday, we got a couple of more nuggets, and our friend Dan Schwartz, who often hits us up in the chat, is out today. He's out today. And it's almost good that he is, and I'll tell you why. We have Ben Simmons conversation. And we all know, for everyone in the chat of this show on YouTube, for everyone there, we all know how much Dan hates Ben Simmons. Can't stand him. And I'm trying to avoid the emotional side of this, and I'll tell you why in just one second. Our friend Tom Moore is going to join the show today and talk about Ben Simmons even further. But this is what Tommy started out there yesterday. Take a look at this. Let me just make sure I have the chronology of this right. Yeah, here we go. According to a source, NBA writer, Sixers beat writer, and columnist as well, Tom Moore, says this. An NBA source, Sixers are expecting Ben Simmons to play he means the 2021-2022 season, so just make that edit. The expectations is that they will, that they're expecting Ben Simmons to come here and play. The expectation is that he will. Bumpy right now, and the team expects it to get better. The 76ers don't plan on making a deal that would drop them back in the standings, not getting viable offers. That's That should be everybody's main point. And that's one of the things that I'm trying to get into when it comes to Ben Simmons, and it comes to everything that we have talked about when it comes to Ben Simmons and what's going to go on from this point on. When you look at Ben, I don't want this team to get any worse than it is right now. And I'm not willing to trade Ben Simmons for anything that is going to make them a worse basketball team. Here's what Tom Moore also went on to say. Eventually, he's going to show up. This is according to the source. Sixers will go from there. They apparently plan to fine Simmons if he doesn't attend 2021-2022 camp, preseason, and so on. Don't want to trade for draft picks. Try to convert to players. Don't want to do that. Can't get any 5 to 10 NBA guys like that. No, you absolutely can't do that. I would not have a problem, in all honesty, with the Sixers just playing chicken at this point with Ben Simmons, because I feel like that's what it's going to eventually come down to. Look, the guy's got all the money in the world. He certainly flaunts that on his social media accounts, and look, that's his money. That's how he wants to spend it. Good for him. But when it comes to finding a player, when it comes to having him sit out, I don't even think that's going to send the right message. The only way they get this done and get proper value for Ben Simmons is if Ben Simmons has not played his last game as a 76er. And this is where the emotion comes in. I honestly can't stand Ben Simmons right now. I can't stand him. Any video, and to his credit, he hasn't been really posting a lot of videos. His camp has posted videos. You've seen Chris Johnson, the hoops guru, whatever. He's been posting videos and all that. But I even with that, even with the social media posts about whatever, I just can't stand the guy right now. With the reports out there from Brian Windhorst saying it's not his job to raise his trade value or fix his trade value, with how he's not having good communication with the Sixers front office, with how he's not having good communication with other teams, with other members of his team. Like, I just can't stand the guy right now. Like, get better. That's the bottom line. Like, the excuses that are out there right now for either why you're upset or why you're not as good a basketball player as you should be, I'm done. I'm over it. Like, you should be a better basketball player. And it's unfortunate, but I think the best case scenario for the Sixers is that Ben Simmons, okay, let's get this out of the way. The best case scenario for the Sixers is that the Portland Trailblazers are like, hey, you know what? That Damian Lillard fellow wants to get the hell out of here, so what are you willing to give us for him? And the Sixers are like, open cupboard. What would you like? Everything not named Joel. Take it. That would be the best case scenario. I don't see that happening at this point in time. I don't see that happening right now. But it could happen, and the odds are better that it happens if Ben Simmons does come back. If Ben Simmons does play the good Boy Scout, and he does come in for training camp, and he does come in for the preseason, and he does play maybe the first half of the season, or maybe it's like a Jimmy Butler type trade where you see him traded by November, for instance. Maybe that's what happens. But that is the best possible route. This is the best possible way this whole scenario can play out, is for Ben Simmons to come back and play, show how good a player he can be, because we all know what type of regular season basketball player Ben Simmons is. And then GMs around the league go, oh, okay, all right, he's got that. Maybe he's shooting a little bit. Maybe he's showing that he's expanded his game. And you know what? Maybe over the course of a couple of games, they start to mend fences between him and Joel Embiid and Doc Rivers for things that were said after the game. And that's one of the great points that Tom Moore is going to make when he comes on with us a little bit later. But that's the best case scenario for the Sixers. That's the way they obtain their next best case scenario. So first thing that needs to happen is Ben Simmons needs to come back. As much as I don't want to see him in a Sixers uniform, if it helps them ultimately get top dollar back for his trade, then absolutely he's got to come back. He's got to play. He's got to play the good little boy type thing, and then he's got to actually play well, and then they trade him for top dollar, as opposed to pennies on the dollar, as the expression goes. I hate all the drama that surrounds this. It's so crazy to me that all this stems from a basketball player that is not willing to shoot. He's apparently willing to work on it in the offseason, but he's not willing to apply it in the regular season. Here's the perfect scenario. The perfect scenario is Ben Simmons comes back and Ben Simmons expands his game. I have no doubt in my mind that if Ben Simmons plays in the playoffs with an expanded game, 10-foot jumper, 15-foot jumper, hits his free throws, The Sixers, is there any doubt that the Sixers are at least in the Eastern Conference Finals? Is there any doubt if Ben Simmons is a good free throw shooter and a willing participant in shooting the basketball from 10 feet away from the basket? Or hold on, wait, don't, you might think I'm crazy. Or maybe 1 inch from the basket and dunks the basketball. It's like because the reason he's not doing that is because he's afraid of the other. He's afraid of shooting free throws. So if he's a good free throw shooter, that means he can be more aggressive around the rim. And if he's a good free throw shooter, anyone who plays basketball knows that a free throw is the essence of a jump shot because it's all the same form. So if you can go out there and hit your free throws, that means it's going to translate over into your jump shooting. So, hey, it all comes down to just hit your free throws, man, and everything else will fall into place. If he does that, if he comes in next year, the best case scenario, he comes in next year with that expanded game, with good free throw shooting ability, and then the Sixers, maybe Joel Embiid with his charming self, maybe he can smooth things over for saying that Ben not dunking the basketball was the turning point in the game. Maybe Doc Rivers can smooth things over, as we pointed out before, when he talks about how Ben Simmons, he's not sure if Ben Simmons is the type of point guard you can win a championship with. I don't know. Maybe that's the type of thing. Maybe that's the type of thing that we'll see when we come into next year. When I say next year, I mean like 2 weeks. So that's the perfect scenario. The more likely scenario is that Ben Simmons is a big fat baby and doesn't show up, makes this really hard on the Sixers, and then the Sixers end up trading Ben Simmons, for a bottom tier guy, not Dame Lillard. In other words, maybe that's where they start thinking about draft picks. But I think if you go back to this tweet again from Tom Moore, and you see right there at Tom Moore Philly, here's what you see. They're not willing, right at the bottom there, don't plan on a deal that would drop them back in the standings. You know what that means? That means don't waste Joel Embiid's time in the NBA because his time is very precious. All right, more on the 76ers coming up in just a second with Tom Moore when he joins the show on our Rothman Orthopaedics guest line. But I do want to get to this because the Eagles are going to open up Lincoln Financial Field to the rabid fan base right here in Philadelphia. Nick Sirianni talked about what it's going to be like to be there walking out on the football field for what would be his first game at home in Philly as the head coach of the Philadelphia Eagles. John Clark, NBC Sports Philadelphia, asked him about it yesterday during his press conference.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited definitely to get this home crowd behind us. What a great football city this is. Fans are the best in the NFL. So of course, like you see the challenges that are posed to you when you go to another home field, right? When you go on the road. There's challenges. There's things you have to work on throughout practice, throughout the week to help prepare yourself. And so knowing that and every detail counts. I mean, with the margin of error so small in the NFL, everything matters. Everything matters. Not just, hey, these things matter. Everything matters. And so this home crowd matters. And so can't wait knowing that the margin error is that small, and now we have the home crowd out here cheering us on. That's a huge advantage. Super excited to feel that energy, to feel that energy when we come out. I'm gonna be looking at that screen when Rocky comes on, and I've talked about Rocky before, but I'm gonna be looking at that screen when Rocky comes on. He says win. Adrian says win, and then everybody gets juiced up. I'm gonna have some energy there when I see that.
Rocky, we got a Rocky mention, ladies and gentlemen. We got a Rocky mention. Yeah, come here. Win. What are we waiting for? All right, that does get me every single time. Yeah, that does get me every single time. I can't imagine what it must be like to be a head coach. I always dream of being a head coach. And then all of a sudden you find yourself in the sidelines of Lincoln Financial Field, and you're looking, and you've heard things around the league about Philadelphia fans. Let's not play dumb here, right? And all of a sudden, that's behind you. That's coming. That is supporting you. You're coming off a pretty impressive win to start the season off, and everybody knew a man, including Nick Sirianni, who even went back. He's got this boxing reference throughout the season. I'm sure he's going to have it about round one, round two. If you go out there, if you said yesterday, if you go out there in round one, and then you kick somebody's butt, and all you're thinking about in between rounds is how you won that fight or won that round, you're going to go out there and get your butt kicked in round two. So vibes are good right now in Philadelphia. So when they come out of the tunnel, you guys are going to be crazy. Philadelphia fans are going to be crazy. Imagine being a first-time head coach, and that's behind you. That's the support, the adrenaline rush that's got to be. And then they play Rocky. Then they play Adrian in the hospital bed. I don't care how cliche you think that is. If you're in that stadium, that's amazing. Because I am one that it does think it's cliche, but I think it is amazing when you're actually there among the 70,000. So that's Nick Sirianni, and what would be his first game at Lincoln Financial Field as a head coach. Look forward to that, as I know all of you guys do. Here is, this is great. Part of the support that comes from this fan base is buying jerseys, obviously. And you guys have heard that Jalen Hurts' jersey has increased by 500%, according to Fanatics.com. Good for him. Jalen Hurts moved by it yesterday, and I loved what he had to say. It was short and sweet. Listen to this, Jalen Hurts, about his jersey.
Things like that.
Well, I think it's all love, I think it's all love. I want to continue to give him something to, a reason to wear it.
I want to give him more of a reason to wear it. That's short and sweet and to the point. I mentioned earlier, and Jalen Hurts, by the way, is a guy that I know has turned a lot of heads. Chris Simmons has said that he was wrong about Jalen Hurts. And look, you barely see the guy at the NFL level, so how are you supposed to put him high on the list? I don't pay much attention to the lists that come out simply for this reason. They change every single week. Power rankings, whatever you want to call them. Like, you start a season, you want to say that the Eagles are 28th in power rankings. Okay, fine. You've been disrespected. If you want to call, like, any coach can instill that in a team that you're disrespected. And I've referenced this a bunch, but the NFL Network, the NFL Network put together a package years ago about the word respect. And actually, I'm sorry, it was NFL Films. And they put this package together on the word respect. And they went around to almost every coach throughout the league that particular year. And every coach was drilling it into their team's heads about how the other team's over there and they don't respect us. They don't respect you. And they were interviewing players about that word. And the players were like, oh, yeah, you could get any pack of idiots to just believe that they're being disrespected by somebody else, and that'll rile them up. And apparently in the NFL, that never runs thin. So, hey, keep on going to that well, coaches, if that's what you got to do. But there's talk about the Eagles not being respected for the team that they are and the team that they can be. And Dick Sirianni's playing that off cool. Jalen Hurts is playing that off cool. And a lot of people have been trying to ask them about how they come down from this high. And we talked about it yesterday. They got to move on from it. The 24-hour rules, what Jalen Hurts had to say about it yesterday. 24 hours, you get to enjoy the win, or you get to think about the loss, whatever it might be. Now it's all about the 49ers. And you heard multiple times yesterday throughout these press conferences, we're on to the 49ers. We're on to the 49ers. Well, one of the things that the 49ers are bringing to town are the two quarterbacks that we mentioned already. And the other thing that they're talking about or bringing to town is George Kittle. There's one really interesting thing that we haven't even really touched on from the Falcons game yet. And Kyle Pitts is supposed to be a pretty good tight end. I loved Kyle. I wanted Kyle Pitts here in Philadelphia. Happy they got Devontae Smith, so I'm cool. But here's the thing. Devontae Smith being here is awesome. The fact that the Eagles stopped Kyle Pitts and contained him is a sight for sore eyes. Because the Eagles have always, historically, struggled against tight ends. And now one of the best tight ends in football, possibly the best tight end in football, him and Travis Kelce, he's coming to town. And the Eagles are going to have to devise a way. Jonathan Gannon's going to have to devise a way to not only figure out, and he said the other day, they got to be ready for everything, to figure out a way to stop their two quarterback system, but also find a way to contain George Kittle. That's going to be difficult. Darius Slay was asked about two of those things. Slay was asked about both of those things yesterday during his press conference. And just in case you're watching at home, you can also just realize that I think there was a fly or a bee buzzing around Slay's head while these questions were being asked. Here's Darius Slay yesterday.
We could get the job done, so we've been there before. I played against two quarterbacks before, so in my opinion right now is just like a younger Kaepernick and a younger, older Alex Smith, back when they had them times in San Fran. So, that's what it all to me looked like. So, yeah.
So what of a matchup is Kittle deciding who can try to slow him down?
Oh, it's hard. It could be a damn sure team effort.
Yeah, what's the message to the team as
a collective, we got to just, attack him and not let him attack us. Because He's great guy. After run after catch, he's probably the best tight end after run after catch in the league right now. Mean stiff arm. His stiff arm should be on 99. He's a very talented guy, man. He work hard. Willing to block, willing to do everything a tight end needs to do. So we got to be very, very high alert.
I think I'm going to make this is what I'm going to do throughout the season. I think I'm just going to make a highlight package of Darius Slay making noises because, man, he really loves the reaction noise. Woo-hoo-hoo. Like I think it would be hilarious. Anyway, what he's talking about there, the X's and O's of it, when he's talking about two quarterbacks, I had a very similar thought watching the game last week between the Lions and the 49ers. It is a very similar system in that Alex Smith and Colin Kaepernick, both very mobile quarterbacks. In fact, both were told by Jim Harbaugh while he was the coach over there, one and done. You make one read. There's not even a progression. There's just a read. You make your one read. It's not there. Go. Make your read. Not there. Go. That was what both Colin Kaepernick and Alex Smith were instructed to do, and because both were nimble enough quarterbacks to do that. Now, it's certainly not as drastic with Kyle Shanahan to be doing that with Jimmy Garoppolo or Trey Lance, for instance, but both are mobile enough quarterbacks where they can create time with their legs. They can throw the ball downfield. They certainly have the arm strength to do that. They can make those types of throws. They can make those types of plays. That's what reminds me of the situation that you had there. Not that they were both playing at the same time or one was sprinkled in with the other, but in terms of at least having two quarterbacks, that's what's pretty interesting about this matchup this time around with the 49ers. The fact that if you do have two guys go out there, both of them can be mobile, both of them can execute the offense, and both of them can keep you guessing as to what type of play is coming next, whether that's a run, whether it's a pass, or whether that's the running back themselves, or excuse me, the quarterback themselves taking off with the football. Trey Lance last week threw one pass. It was for a touchdown, their first of the game, and then he also ran the football two other times. So that's what you got to keep under consideration. And again, all this goes back to something that the Eagles defense, a lot of these guys saw last year in practice between Carson Wentz and Jalen Hurts, with Jalen Hurts being sprinkled in with the offense with Carson. As far as the tight end situation goes, Jonathan Gannon, please find a way to keep the week one success going in week two. Not that I'm putting Kyle Pitts in the same breath as George Kittle. But this is what I will say. That's a good warm-up lap. To get a rookie in his first NFL game who barely played in the preseason, who's got all that talent like Kyle Pitts does, as we all know he does, if you could find a way to at least look at that as a warm-up to a pretty giant leap to the next step here, if you could find a way to contain a tight end like George Kittle in this game, I see the Eagles winning. If George Kittle doesn't have a big game, Eagles will win this game. That's one of the biggest X factors and the biggest factors at all in this game is containing the tight end. So we'll see how that works out. Look forward to seeing that work out. Before we get to our guest today, Tom Moore, talk about the 76ers and Ben Simmons and the latest in that development. I want to tell you about my friend Steven Singer of Steven Singer Jewelers. Looking to get engaged? Looking for the perfect gift at the perfect price? Trust my friend Steven Singer of Steven Singer Jewelers. The other corner of 8th and Walnut, or at IHateStevenSinger.com. That's IHateStevenSinger.com. Always fast and free shipping at IHateStevenSinger.com. Other jewelers, you know what they say? I hate Steven Singer. You know why they say I hate Steven Singer? Because you go in there and everything's at the perfect price. It's just that simple. Not a huge markup. The victory is going to Steven Singer. I know you're getting taken care of by a real jewelry expert. That's Steven Singer Jewelers. Other jewelers, you walk in, no personal connection. What do you want? What do you want? That's the other jeweler, right? Steven Singer's like, how can I help you? That's how it works. So if you go to Steven Singer, you know you're getting it at the perfect price. You know you don't have to go in there worrying about negotiating, worrying about haggling. You just go in there worried about what you want to buy. You worry about pleasing that person you're buying a gift for, and you worry about whether or not this diamond ring is going to be what the person you're proposing to, what they're into. And I'll tell you right now, Steven Singer, give enough detail, he'll help you along the entire process. In fact, when my wife and I got engaged, she told me the ring she wanted. And then a couple of months later, rather, because we were together a long time, she said, no, I want this one. And I looked at the second one, and I was like, she doesn't want that. She thinks she wants that, but she doesn't. So I went in there. She likes the what is it called? The princess cut, right? And I went in there, and I was like, hey, she wanted this one, but I think this is the one she really wants. And it was the first picture she sent me of the diamond ring she wanted for to get engaged. And I was like, hey, easy, clinger. That's what I said. No. But I went there and I got the princess cut because I knew that's what she really wanted. And, you know, she She went diamond dumb, as I like to call it when I proposed. She just looked at the ring and was like, what? And then she eventually said, yes, we got married. We had a kid. So there you go. And it all started at Steven Singer Jewelers, the other corner of 8th and Walnut, right on Jewelers Row. Thanks to Steven Singer. I hate StevenSinger.com. Without further ado, let's talk to another good friend of mine. I've known Tom Moore for, good God, man, 15, at least 17 years, actually. Because before, about 17 years. Love talking to Tom. Tom had the big story yesterday regarding Ben Simmons. Make sure you're following him for all the stuff regarding the 76ers. Here is my conversation with Tom Moore on all things Ben Simmons, ladies and gentlemen. And joining us right now on the Rothman Orthopaedics guest line, the man that started a little bit of a fire yesterday on the old Twitterverse. He's got a story up there with the Bucks County Courier-Times right now. Mr. Tom Moore joins us, columnist extraordinaire. Tom, how are you, brother?
Fine. My former Central Bucks Family YMCA noontime hoop player, buddy.
You know what? I was actually going to text you last week. I was trying to help some people out with their YMCA. They're trying to refurbish some of the YMCA in Northeast Philly. And I was like, I should give my man Tom Moore a call. Consistent baseline jumper Tom Moore. But you know what? I saw this tweet you put out earlier today, and I said to myself, oh, no, now's the time to text Mr. Tom Moore. I don't know. Look, obviously I believe you because I know you, and I know you're not just someone to throw something against the wall. But this story with Ben Simmons, where are we at right now? From your tweet, from your report, from your story that's out there on Bucks County Courier-Times right now, what are we to believe? So the Sixers they want Ben Simmons to come back. They're willing to fine him if he doesn't come back on time. They want him to play in the regular season. So as far as the Sixers are concerned, they just want this to stay the course. Ben comes back and plays, basically.
I think pretty much, Mark. I think they've tried. The offers they're getting are for young players or draft picks, and they don't want that. With Joel Embiid, the window to win is now. They don't want to even try, get young players and draft picks and then have to try to turn around and make them into, winning players, solid players right now, veterans. That's a lot to ask for in this market. So I think the Sixers, from what I understand, they believe their best course of action is for Ben Simmons to play, to report, whether it's training camp in the preseason or whatever, come back and play. And I think that would help, restore some of his value after, his playoff struggles at the offensive end, particularly shooting and aggression wise for, free throws, et cetera. And that would, help increase the chances he could get somewhere else where they could trade him by the deadline in February, somewhere where he'd like to go and for more like what they believe is fair value.
So this sounds like the best business move for the Sixers. Like emotionally, I'm looking at Ben Simmons and I'm going, this guy is just done here in Philly. He doesn't want to be here anymore. And whether he doesn't want to play for the organization or he doesn't want to play for these teammates anymore. Why do you think he is so done with the organization? And why do you think the Sixers are almost going to have to force his hand to show up and play in practice?
Well, the Sixers, as I kind of said, they're getting offered 50 cents on the dollar, and It doesn't make sense if they're a 50-win team with him and they trade him and they don't get much back for him, and they're a 46-win team and they lose in the first round or the second round, whatever. Now you can say they've never gotten past the second round with Embiid and Simmons, and that would be true 3 times they've lost in the second round. Mm-hmm. The other time when he was hurt last year, in the bubble, they lost in the first round to the Celtics. They were swept. But from their perspective, he has more value to them than any other team in the league. So
sure.
For them to trade him doesn't make sense. From his perspective, I think he was upset, and I wrote about this 2 weeks ago, that the Sixers enabled him. They did not hold him accountable. They allowed him to do what he wanted to do. And then after the game 7, where for the 4th straight game he did not take a shot in the 4th quarter, shot 33% from the free throw line in the 7 games, and passed up that uncontested dunk with 3.5 minutes to go that would have tied the game. After the game, Joel Embiid called that the turning point in the game. And Doc Rivers, when asked by David Murphy, do you see him being a championship contender going forward as a point guard? And he said, I don't know. And they were honest answers.
Sure.
And that was probably true. But Doc Rivers, just like Brett Brown, had bent over backwards to not say anything negative. I mean, even earlier in the series, when Ben Simmons said, I have to be more aggressive looking for my shot, and Doc Rivers was asked about that, and he disagreed. He was disagreeing with Ben Simmons' self-assessment. That's how far they went back. They went to try to protect him and coddle him. So then when he hears, whether you want to call throwing under the bus or criticism, whatever, after Game 7, I think it was just honesty. With Doc Rivers, I think he was just stunned that he told the truth. He didn't edit himself. And in the last 3 games, if you recall, Simmons did not play the entire fourth quarter. They took him out, late game situations. They were afraid he'd either get fouled or they were essentially playing 4-on-5 on offense, which had not been the case earlier. So some things had changed, but that was out of necessity. But I think given the fact that, I don't know whether you want to call him spoiled, coddled, whatever, I think that, kind of resulted in, hey, they're blaming this all on me. And I think he's got a lot of people around him who are, nothing's your fault. Yes, you're great, that kind of thing. And that doesn't do people, people need someone to say, they need a Pat Croce to kick them in the rear end and say, you need to shoot the ball. This team needs you to shoot the ball. For them to win, you have to shoot the ball. Not it's Joel's fault, it's Seth Curry's fault, whatever. And you don't do your, and having your brother as a shooting coach, that's not ideal. That is not, and seeing these videos of him making threes in summer, which we've seen for 4 years now.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, come on, this is ridiculous. It's not the issue of shooting in the summer. It's not the issue of shooting the practice. It's shooting in games. And when is it going to get where you're confident enough to take an open 12-footer in a game and not be afraid to drive to get fouled so you get to the foul line? Those are important issues. And the Sixers, need him to play and play well in the regular season to have a chance of getting closer to fair value, or Damian Lillard to decide he wants out of Portland and finally, and that would be the dream for the Sixers in terms of getting an elite player, that they could get, because they have, Ben Simmons, and they have some young players and draft picks they could trade to make that happen.
Yeah, I will say, Tom, speaking of Tom Moore, columnist for Bucks County Courier-Times, I will say on this show, Ben Simmons has become known as the Instagram model Ben Simmons and NBA Player of the Month for the month of August on this program. So that's what he's known here. How do we take that, what he does in August, and actually apply it? Is it going to be, I would assume it won't be as simple as, oh, Ben, by the way, you have to shoot more. There's no way in hell Ben Simmons knows or doesn't know he needs to shoot more, right? That's not something he needs to be told. That's something that he realizes, I hope.
Yeah, I think he does. I just don't think he's comfortable and confident enough to do it. He doesn't want to embarrass himself. And I think the real reason for the fourth quarter is he drives and gets fouled. He's got to go to the line. And you see him at the line, he looks like he would rather be anywhere else on the earth than there. You know what I mean?
Right,
and I think that's what he run in the fourth quarter. He brings the ball up, crosses midcourt, gives it to someone like it's a hot potato, and runs either to the dunker spot or the corner, gets out of the way. You're playing 4-on-5 in half court. Immediately, Joel Embiid is doubled automatically by Simmons' guy. That is what happens. That is what has happened, and it hasn't changed.
This would be easier for me to understand if there wasn't a guy named Giannis Antetokounmpo, who's a reigning NBA champion, a 2-time MVP, who literally has a worse looking shot than Ben Simmons, but yet he just lets it fly. If you're Ben Simmons, how do you not look at that and go, oh, well, yeah, if he's doing it, I guess I can do that too.
He is not a good three-point shooter. He is not a high-percentage three-point shooter. Mm-hmm. But he will take them, and sometimes he's 1 for 8 from 3, and that is not ideal. But he's willing to take it, and he's not a great foul shooter. He's certainly better than Ben Simmons, but he attacks the rim, and he gets to the basket. Joel Embiid, one of the best things he's done is worked, and he's become an 83% free throw shooter. And that's, he goes to the line 16 times. He makes 14 of them.
And he wants to be a 90% free throw shooter.
Right. That's a massive. Joel Embiid at Kansas, his 1 year Kansas, he attempted 3 3-pointers the entire year. He was not a shooter. The 2 years that he was hurt and he had the foot surgeries, he spent shooting and shooting and shooting. And he's not a great shooter, but he's a 35% shooter. He's a competent 3-point shooter. His shot looks like it's going to go in, and he helps them that way. I think 2 years ago he took too many threes, but I think this year he cut down on the threes, the number, increased the percentage, and had career highs almost across the board, was a runner-up for NBA MVP. But you have to put the time in, and you have to be confident in yourself to do it. And Joel Embiid is that. And Ben Simmons, is extremely confident at the defensive end. He's extremely confident passing the ball. Can guard 1 through 4, maybe 5. Does a lot of things really well. But for this team in the half-court offense, they desperately need him to be effective and to attack. He just loses that aggression, and it has a ripple effect. I mean, how does a team with the best record at home in the Eastern Conference during the regular season lose 3 out of 4 to a younger, less experienced team in the Atlanta Hawks in the playoffs? It makes no sense.
It absolutely doesn't. Where are we at right now, you think, then? To go back to that question, are we at the point where you think Ben will show up? Do you think we're at the point where Ben will show up for camp? He'll practice, he'll play, he'll avoid getting fined, and he'll start to play until there's a point where the Sixers can trade him? Are we at that point? Where do you think we are?
I don't think he'll be there for the start of training camp, whether they negotiate, whether, I don't know. I mean, and all it takes is one offer, but it seems like, from my understanding, they're not getting, any top 10 players in the league, shall we say, offered for Ben, which they consider, Simmons a, top 10 caliber player in terms of specifically what he does the defensive end and, some of the other things. So I think it's interesting. Basically, the ball is in Ben Simmons' court and Rich Paul's court, and they need to decide what they're going to do. If they say no, they fine him, and they can keep fining him and keep fining him. That's not going to increase his value. They could theoretically let him sit. It's not, you're obviously losing out huge at the defensive end. You're more traditional at the offensive end without him if you have a point guard, whether it's Maxey or whoever running the point without him. But they need him to play. Will he? It's a very interesting question. I think the Sixers are kind of, putting the onus on Simmons and Paul to kind of put their money where their mouth is. And then if they do and they're fined, then what happens? Will they cave? What happens when it's October 20th, the opener in New Orleans? He's not there. Fine. You keep going. He's got to, he could lose a lot of money. Usually there aren't long holdouts in the NBA. They've been holdouts for a month or whatever. Rarely will you see somebody hold out for months and months at a time. That very rarely has that happened.
Under league rules, is it possible where Ben Simmons says, my ankle hurts, I can't play, and then he won't be fined?
Yeah, that's he's got to report first, I think. And he probably have to have a physical. Now, if his doctor says he's got a problem and the Sixers say they don't, then you have a whole other can of worms. Right. It could get really messy and ugly. I don't know, but I'm very curious. I mean, it's less than 2 weeks to the start of camp on the 28th. So, we're getting down to the, and as I said, the regular season opener is October 20. So we're only, 5 weeks away from the start of the regular season. So, there's not a whole lot of time. There's 4 preseason games. So I would be surprised if he's there media day or the start of camp. How that goes, my assumption is there'll be some sort of response from Rich Paul through one of the national media guys or whatever.
Brian Windhorst.
Exactly. Well, yeah. Whether Shams, Brian, or Woj, one of those two probably would be the one.
Speaking of that, you led me right to it. So I was at the end of the season when everyone was saying I want to trade Ben Simmons for the rack of basketballs and all that stuff. I was like, no, that's dumb. He's got to come back. He's got to play. He's got to be at top, the top trade value that he could possibly be at, the highest trade value he could possibly be at. And then the story came out about how he's not getting back to the Sixers. He's not getting back to Sixers front office or players. He's getting back to Tyrese Maxey because those guys were working out. Danny Green.
They're both represented by Rich Paul too.
And they're both Clutch Sports guys.
Yep.
So then Danny Green said that he said happy birthday, I think was what happened. And then the story came out last week from 2 weeks ago from Brian Windhorst, saying that Ben Simmons supposedly sent a message back to the Sixers saying, it's not my job to raise my trade value. And my thought was, yeah, it's not your job to make calls and talk yourself up. It's your job to be better. So, yeah, it is kind of his job to decrease his trade value. What did you make of that report from Brian Windhorst last week? What did you interpret that to be?
Yeah, I think it was more kind of hardball, where if you want to say the Sixers are playing hardball a little bit on their end with wanting him to report and expecting them to report and not being able to get what they want for him. I think it was the other way, like, look, this isn't my problem. This is your problem. Figure it out, take the best deal, and let's move on. And the Sixers saying, no, I don't think so. But the problem is, everybody remembers the Atlanta series, and how could you not remember it? I mean, it was, and you had, Shaq and Charles Barkley came out earlier this week, critical of him, saying he's not a great player, not a good player. They need you to shoot the ball. That's the one thing the Sixers need to win is for you to shoot the ball, and you're not doing it, So he's getting criticism from, people that are not just Sixer people or Philadelphia fans who a lot of them, I think, they're ready to move on. I think other ones still want to believe to a degree. There's so many different camps in terms of what the Sixers fans, where they are in terms of what they want to happen here. But yeah, I think the worst thing is to trade him for, a shooting guard averaging 18 points a game, right, and a first round pick and a seventh man or something like that. I mean, you trade Charles Barkley, when he wanted out in 92, and you get Jeff Hornacek, Andrew Lang, and Tim Perry, Temple's own, but still, that's not a fair value. And the Sixers, were pretty bad for 4 or 5 years after that until Larry Brown came here because they didn't have a star anymore, and they didn't have, now they were Hersey Hawkins and Jeff Hornacek. When you trade a star, if you don't get a star in return, you almost always lose in the trade, unless you're a young team and you get a lot of draft picks or young players and you're building. And that is not the Sixers. Joel Embiid is 27, 28. With his health, you never know. He's under contract till 33. Who knows how well he'll be playing at 33. But right now, this past year was clearly the best of his NBA career. He is at his peak now, and you have Seth Curry and Tobias Harris and, the core, Danny Green's up there in years. And, it is a team built to win, if not now, soon. So you don't want to be waiting for rookies to develop and things like that. They need experienced players capable of helping them win now is what they need.
Tom, let's fast forward to the end. How do you see it ending? From the people you talked to, from the information you gathered, right now, at this point in time, how do you see this working out with Ben Simmons and the 76ers?
I think he gets traded. But the question is he willing to report to play? Mm-hmm. And I don't know that he will. If he comes in and plays and does well and reminds people why he's such a good regular season player, he can help raise the value. And
sure.
Can get for him.
Do you think he's played his last game as a Sixer?
Probably 50-50. I think there's a pretty good chance, that's the case, that they're just going to say, unless their hard line was just posturing and the Sixers called the bluff, and now it's like, all right, what are we going to do? We're going to give back all this money, and I'm going to sit out, and it's only going to decrease my value. And Daryl Morey and Elton Brand and the Sixers aren't going to trade me for 40 cents on the dollar. So what am I going to do? I don't know, but I think he's going to get traded eventually. But if he doesn't report, it's not going to, the value is if anything only going to go down. I'm afraid from the Sixers standpoint, and it's a leap of faith pretty much really on the Sixers end. But you can argue, what are their other alternatives to take, take a 18 pack of Big Red and a chiclet to be named later, that's not the value here. And, maybe Daryl Morey is overvaluing Simmons a little bit, but from what I hear, they certainly, couldn't get Lillard or Bradley Beal, or you pick any of the top guys, or, Steph Curry, any of those guys that would be difference makers that are ready to win now. They're not getting any of those guys for Ben Simmons. So this is the best alternative for the Sixers. What's best for Ben Simmons? That will be very interesting to find out.
I had so much hope at the end of the season when Doc Rivers said that we're working together. Ben's committed. The reports were out. Ben's committed to getting better. He doesn't want to be traded. And then I guess as time went on, that kind of soured, or was it really not even that good?
I don't know. I don't know if maybe he was feeling that way but hadn't expressed to them. And then I guess about 3.5 weeks ago out in L.A. is when he said, I want to be traded, according to Keith Pompey, and I've heard nothing, contradictory to that, that he doesn't plan on reporting, and he wants to be traded. And then, like you said, it came out that it's not his value. It's not his job to increase his value, but his value is not what the value should be for a 25-year-old young man who's a 3-time All-Star, one of the better perimeter defenders in the NBA. So, yeah, I mean, this could be really ugly, or this could, it could sort of smooth over somewhat, but I would lean a little more toward the really ugly part than the kumbaya part. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, and I unfortunately agree with that. I'm preparing myself for disappointment. Tom Moore, almost as disappointing as I was when I show up to the YMCA in Doylestown and see you there and be like, great, now I'm going to be picking jump shots out of my eye all night. Damn it, Tom Moore. Anyway, you're the man, brother. Thank you so much for joining us.
I passed off the rim. I don't know what you're talking about.
Very giving game. Very giving game.
Me and Orlando Woolridge.
Tom Moore, Bucks County Courier Times. Make sure you check out his stuff, especially around Ben Simmons and all this. You're writing Philly stuff. You'll be writing Eagle stuff and all that stuff, man. Thank you so much for joining me on the fine Rothman Orthopaedics guest line. Sure. Thank you, Tom.
Twitter at Tom Moore Philly. Thanks a lot, Mark.
Absolutely. I'll be showing your tweet again as soon as we get done this interview. Thanks, brother.
Groovy. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Have a good night.
My thanks to Tom Moore for joining us on the Rothman Orthopaedics guest line. I just looked over. Phil was the first comment I saw. It says, Tom Moore seems like a scrappy player down low. You know what? Not so much. You would think so, but I'm telling you, consistent baseline jumper. Consistent. You drive the paint, kick it out to old Tommy Moore on the baseline. Like clockwork. Yes, Ben Simmons. Go ahead, Ben Simmons. He shoots obviously better than Ben Simmons. But yeah, and I'll never forget walking into YMCA at Doylestown YMCA with my buddy Mike Campbell, and he would say, "Hey, you read the Intelligencer?" And I was like, "Oh, you're damn right I do." The piping hot takes from the Intel with that Mike Sealski character, that Reuben Frank guy, and that Tom Moore, absolutely. And sure enough, Tom Moore shooting baseline jumpers right over there. We ended up playing a couple of games on more than one occasion. Tom still doesn't know how the Zoom interview 18 months. He does kind of. It's low. I will say it's low. But no, Tom, great story yesterday. Great scoop yesterday by getting all the goods on Ben Simmons. Here's the tweets again for Tom, talking about Ben and how the Sixers expect him to show up and all that fun stuff. And hopefully he does. Eventually, he's going to show up. Eventually. I love that. Thanks, Tom Moore, joining us on the Rothman Orthopaedics guest line. Let me tell you a little bit about Rothman Orthopaedics, all the great things that they do at Rothman Orthopaedics. When you have orthopedic issues, you need a physician who eats, sleeps, and breathes orthopedics. You need an exceptionally specialized Rothman Orthopaedics physician. They not only specialize in orthopedics, but each of their physicians only focuses in on one area of the body, which means you can have the confidence to get past the pain and be what you were. Visit them in one of their 30-plus locations in Pennsylvania and New Jersey, including 4 orthopedic-only urgent cares. Learn more at RothmanOrtho.com. That's RothmanOrtho.com. Oh, pay attention to this for BetQL. BetQL. If you want to take advantage of your sports book and you want to get the edge over them, you need to download the BetQL app, the only app you'll need to make the smart bets throughout all seasons. Their best bets computer model scans over 350,000 unique bets per year to give you the best bet recommendation for every game across all major sports, and it gives you the reasoning behind why you should place the bet. This is incredible. This is wild. BetQL's best bets algorithm went 13-2 on 5-star bets for week 1 in NFL games between Thursday and Sunday. How about that? 13-2. Make sure you take advantage of the special discount code for 25% off at BetQL. Their model, they have everything covered from point spreads, over-unders, player props. Don't want to use the model and prefer to do your own research for yourself? BetQL has all the necessary tools for your betting research needs. Everything from sharp data, line movement, team summaries, lineup, injuries, breaking news, and even they have a leaderboard to track your success. Head to the App Store or Google Play, the Google Play Store, to download the BetQL app. Hungry? How about a little steak and Maine? Fine dining in the heart of Northeast Maryland. Whether you dine in their more upscale steakhouse, casual bar, or patio, you'll enjoy the highest quality of prime meats, fresh seafood, world-class oyster bar, and freshly prepared sushi. All that in an extensive wine list, including Cavada Cellars wines. Open every day for lunch, dinner, and Sunday brunch. Steak in Maine and Northeast Maryland voted #1 place for steaks in America by the Travel Channel and the Cooking Channel. Check it out for yourself. Go to steakandmaine.com. How about you settle some family bets with WinView? WinView, the only game where fans can take on other fans and end the debate once and for all of the biggest sports fan. And who's the biggest sports fan in the family and friends? Have those friends and family who just think they know everything? Well, you can play them in a WinView contest and see if they can walk the walk as well as talk the talk. You want to break up the monotony of a family dinner? Use WinView. You can get in on all the action. During a quarter of Monday Night Football, you can put a little skin in the game with a family member or a friend. It's the perfect way to add the extra layer of competition to your fantasy football league as well. While you're tracking the games on Sunday, you can see which players are absolutely killing it for your team. You can also play against another member of the league to make things a little bit more interesting with a WinView contest. It's not a sports book. It's not daily fantasy. It's even better. It's a special gaming app where you can win real money prizes for making predictions on the games you love. Make sure you download the WinView app. Make sure you do that. Have yourself some fun. Have yourself a time. Speaking of having a time, let's jump in, ladies and gentlemen, to our social media check-in brought to you by Steak and Maine and steakandmaine.com. Let's see what you guys got going on. April leads it off today. April, good hustle to you. Way to jump in there, April. Way to be. Mally's checking in. Good morning, Mally. James is in. What's up, James? Ken. Oh, great guest. Tom is a great guest, especially after his story yesterday. Thank you, Ken. Dak is checking in. Don't talk about the Phillies. It's over. Only in our morning rush. That much I promise you. Creepy PJ. James, play nice. Play nice with the other kids. Any good deals on kids? That's not funny. It's not funny. It's kind of funny to me because it's not real in this. In this world, it's not real. Dante, you're hilarious. Ken, what's going on? Ken, Marc, I can make the Phillies segment simple. They won. On to the next topic. Mally, there you go. Well, but now you just made me talk more Phillies. Now there's more time dedicated to the Phillies. I'll say this much. There will be equal time for all the people that want to talk about me and my Baltimore connection. This has nothing to do with my Baltimore connection. This is just something crazy. We'll talk more about the Baltimore Orioles in the morning rush than we will the Philadelphia Phillies for a very specific reason. Mally, I hate Ben Simmons. April, Simmons sucks. You're not wrong. None of you are wrong. I mean, once Shaq comes out last week, and he's doing that show for NBA on TNT, the little podcast, whatever they're doing. And Shaq is just like, hey, Ben Simmons, you're not that good. I mean, he's not that good. If Shaq says it, it must be true. Boot. Still afraid to take shots. Still afraid to take shots. Don't care if he does any of those things, Marc. Get him off my team. See, that's where, Mally, I'm trying to avoid the emotion of it all with Ben. Because, yes, I want Ben Simmons off this team because I don't believe Ben Simmons wants to win. I think he's a crybaby. I think he's been coddled. I think he's been babied. I have seen him play at such a remarkably high level. It's a really, really hard sell for any fan, especially any fan who grew up playing basketball. Not at the NBA level, obviously, but just grew up playing the game. And I would say the vast majority of my audience, the vast majority of Philadelphia, played the game of basketball at some point. And to watch the NBA for as long as you have, and watch guys just choose to get better, just choose to improve their game as their careers have gone on. You don't got to be Kobe Bryant. You don't got to be Michael Jordan to have the will to improve. You could be Pascal Siakam, who came into the league as a guy who didn't shoot, then became the most improved player. You know why? He went to Nick Nurse, and he's like, I want to be better. And Nick Nurse is like, all right, man, let's party. And he shot, and he shot, and he shot. And you know what? He came back a better basketball player. You don't got to be Kobe. You don't got to be Michael Jordan. You could be Pascal Siakam. That's all I'm asking for. You know who you could be? You could also be, like I mentioned with Tom Moore, you could be Giannis Antetokounmpo, who, by the way, it's all about just mindset. It's all about desire. That's all it takes to get better. Mindset and desire. You got to work your ass off, too. Let's concede this point for just a second with Ben Simmons. Now I'm off on this tangent again. Let's just concede this point for a second. Let's just say that Ben Simmons does work hard. All right, let's just live in this world for a second where he does work hard. If he puts in that work and then doesn't apply it in a game, that's just dumb. So now you got a crybaby, coddled moron. That's what, like, if that's in that universe where he does work hard but doesn't do it, that's stupid. Now, if he doesn't work hard and then he doesn't do it, well, then that's to be expected. I mean, that makes more sense. But to me, I just don't understand how you can be a basketball player, especially in today's shot-happy NBA. You choose not to shoot. I know people think I'm hot taking him, but is it really that much of a hot take to think that Ben Simmons can be Giannis, which is a 2-time MVP and a champion, if he just decides to shoot? When you see him shoot, it's 1,000 times prettier than Giannis, but Giannis doesn't give a damn. That's mindset. Ben Simmons doesn't have that. And that's either because simply he's just not born with it, or it's because the people around him are like, you're fine, Ben. You're fine. But man, if Shaq is willing to go out there publicly like he was last week and just say, hey, Ben Simmons, you're not good, like, then you should just kind of pay attention and be like, maybe I'm not that good. But they need to fix it. They need to fix it as soon as humanly possible. But again, to get away from the emotion part of it, I honestly, as someone who roots for this team to win, and someone who enjoys immensely when they do win, the best idea for the Sixers right now is to not trade Ben Simmons, is to hold on to him, and is to go into the season with him on the team and hope that that's how he'll fix his trade value. It's really the only way. It's the only way they'll get top dollar. It's not that I want Ben Simmons back. That's not the priority here. The priority is getting the most you possibly can in return for Ben Simmons. And right now, you are selling low. You are selling remarkably low. Comes back, plays a little bit. Even if he doesn't expand his game, which I doubt he's going to, but even if he doesn't, you're still going to improve his trade value just by having him remove himself by a couple of games at least. Maybe, like I said, a November trade, maybe like you had with Jimmy Butler a couple of years ago and bringing him to Philadelphia. Maybe that's what the future holds for Ben. But right now, it's not the best time to sell. And that's why I think this story coming out through Tom Moore is an important one with training camp just a couple of weeks away. Because if they're willing to put it out there saying, yeah, we're planning on you showing up, man. Don't think that you acting like this is going to force our hand to trade you, because right now you're not worth nearly as much as we should be able to get in return for you. So credit to Daryl Morey for getting this story out there. Credit to the Sixers brass, or whoever it is that's putting the story out there. Credit to them, because this is the way you got to play this game right now. It's all about off the court BS that we got to put up with as fans to see these two parties go back and forth now. But the best case scenario for the Sixers, Ben Simmons shows up, Ben Simmons plays, Ben Simmons helps his trade value, Ben Simmons gets traded. None of this has to do with me going, no, I really want Ben back. No, it's I really want the top value for Ben. That's the way I see it. Anyway, I don't know if I've talked about Ben Simmons enough. I think I have. Mally, I hate Ben Simmons. Oh. Mally, you're a great team player because Dan can't be here today. A little vacation with the family. He's just saying, for Dan, I hate Ben Simmons. There we go. We're a family here. Dak, it's not Ben's job to increase his trade value. Is that sarcastic, Dak? Because it, again, literally is. It's I like people when you say that, it's not, he doesn't have to be on the phone being like, hey, I'm really good at basketball, mate. You don't have to say it. When he doesn't have to do that. But it's literally his job to be the best possible basketball player. That's trade value. That's value. It's even if it's not trade value, it's value to his own team. If you have value to your own team, guess what? You're gonna have value to somebody else's team as well. So I'll take that. You know what? You know what really sucks, and this just dawned on me? If you would have told me who would be the more improved basketball player coming in, TJ McConnell or Ben Simmons, yeah, Ben Simmons would have been, probably the easier bet. But it's TJ McConnell. Now, it's true that TJ had a much higher ceiling in literal and proverbial, literal and metaphorical reasons. But TJ McConnell worked his ass off to get better. Ben Simmons, I'll become a slightly better defender. I was already a really good defender when I came into the league. I'll become a better facilitator. I was already a really good facilitator when I came into the league. But really, it's night and day. It's not night and day like it is for a guy like TJ McConnell. Anyway, Dak, is it a violation to wear my Wentz jersey to the game on Sunday? Here's where I'm at on the violation thing. You do you. You do you. I would say I would advise you to, I don't know, put some tape over it or something, maybe make a new jersey out of it. And this is why, again, I don't buy jerseys of anyone younger than me. And Dak, I don't know how old you are. But yeah, go ahead and rock out your Wentz throwback jersey. Why not? I think producer Jim is chiming in on the Farzy Show account saying, just tape Z over, just tape over the Z so it just says went. Like he's gone. I like that. April, definitely a violation. I saw someone put some tape over the letters and one of the numbers and change it to Hertz. Not bad. Dak, I'm taping off the Z. There we go. We've solved the problem, Dak. There we go. We're all here as better people now. We've even improved more than Ben Simmons. Cody's laughing out loud at that. Andrew, facts, Marcus, facts. Cody Harper saying, Mark, your YouTube page. Oh, that's very nice of you. Yes, the YouTube page has been doing really well lately. I really appreciate that. You guys are awesome. Seriously. Over the last month, it gives you the analytics and everything. Over the last month, we've had about 150 new subscribers. So that's just awesome. We're up to like 1,300 some. So I appreciate that, guys. You guys are fantastic. Come on, Mark. Ben is the greatest offseason player in NBA history. He's Mr. August. I don't even remember any holdout. Yeah, well, that's the encyclopedic knowledge of that Tom Moore fella. Ray is saying Sixers in trouble with that roster. Must be at least 6 teams better than them. Yeah, we'll certainly see. But if they make a trade and they go down in value, then that's wasting Joel Embiid's time. So then you're going to be worse longer. I make $50,000, Phil. I make $50,000 per year, and every day I'm worried my value is decreasing and I'm going to get canned. That's not funny. I don't know why I'm laughing at that. But I just like the idea of like the $50,000 a year versus the $170 million contract. Like, this is why I always try to say this. Like, the money does separate things hugely. However, when it comes to the people really aren't all that different. No matter how much money you make. Because here's what I've come to find. When you make money, when you make more money, and somebody else in the same department as you kind of makes more money, you want more money, you feel like you deserve more money. And I'm guessing in how many millionaires I've interviewed, athletes obviously, no matter how much money they're making, if somebody else comes into the league that hasn't been around as long or is around the same skill level as you and they're making more, that makes you want more. It's kind of how it works, unfortunately. I think that's how most human brains work. But yeah, if you talk about making 50K versus an athlete making 170 million, yeah, I can understand where the disconnect would come in from the athlete, not from the average Joe, so to speak. Tom Moore looks like his browser history must be crazy. Phil, this dude. Oh, wait, I lost you, Phil. Damn it. Come on back, column, or whatever this is. This dude making $200 million. Like, I don't know what my value is. I'm doing what I want. That's pretty much what he's saying. Tom Moore doesn't know how to do a Zoom interview. There it is right there. Philly Talk Podcast. What's up, guys? It's going to be hard to act like nothing happened when Ben shows up. Crazy situation. Yeah, that is going to be crazy, but look, if you're Joel Embiid and you're Doc Rivers, you're being honest. You're talking about exactly what happened. Ben Simmons is the guy. Let me tell you what this is exactly like. You know what? I'll use myself as an example so I don't throw anybody else under the bus. You know when I was playing in that ball hockey tournament last weekend? It's just like the NBA. Don't you roll your eyes at me. And I allowed that goal, the game-winning goal in overtime. You know what I did? Because the goalie showed me up, and the goalie was like, God damn it, come on, man. And he was all pissed at me. You know what I did? I go, dude, that's on me. I said, that was my fault. You throw me under the bus all you want. You're not even throwing me under the bus. It's acknowledging that I suck and I shouldn't be out here. I took it. And you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to work my ass off in the offseason. I'm going to post pictures of me working out like Ben Simmons. I'm hopefully going to make $170 million. And then I'm going to go back to that hockey tournament next year, and I'm going to kick some ass. Why can't Ben Simmons have my mentality? Mamba mentality. Why can't Ben Simmons have the meatball mentality? That's all it is. And that's what I'm looking at as far as that goes. What's up, far as that? Christopher, what's up? How you doing, brother? Ben is surrounded by yes men. He's not only surrounded by yes men, I feel like he's surrounded by everything's okay men. That's what I feel like. But I want Ben to be able to bounce back just like I did. In the ball hockey tournament. The NBA needs to be Ben Simmons ball hockey tournament, brought to you by Nasty Knuckles. That's what it has to be. But I want Ben to have that kind of attitude. I just want Ben to be better. What's so wrong about that? Anyway. Shaq came out. Yeah, he came out and said that about Ben Simmons, Mac. Julian, what's up there, Julian? Ben Simmons, massive crybaby. Doop, boop, boop, doop, boop. We want Ben to shoot, but what's worse is he doesn't attack the basketball. Yeah, he doesn't attack the rim anymore, especially in the playoffs because he doesn't go to the line. That's Philly Talk podcast. Christopher's back. DeMarcus Lawrence broke his ankle, right? Sucks. The Cowboys laugh out loud. Oh, come on, Christopher. We're not laughing at injuries. That did happen. April likes the meatball mentality. That's what we'll print up t-shirts. Meatball mentality. And you know what? I'll wear them and I'll get a little gravy or sauce on them just so they're game used. That's dumb. Actually, that's a really good idea. April, thank you for that one. Anyway, thanks everyone that checked in our social media check-in brought to you by Steak and Maine and steakandmaine.com. Much obliged. Let's go into our morning rush segment brought to you by Sky Motorcars and SkyMotorcars.com. Here's what I got for you when it comes to everything with the Phillies. They beat the Cubs 6-5 last night, so that happened on a walk-off passed ball. Hey, however you get them, folks. 32 blown saves, though, on the season now for the Phillies. Ian Kennedy came in, blew a save, so that was fun. The bullpen allowed a couple of home runs. Jose Alvarado allowed a home run as well. JT Realmuto got you a dinger last night. Freddie Galvis got you a 2-run home run, so that happened. Knapp led off the ninth inning with a single. The Phillies were tied at the time. And then he came around to score, got to third base, came around to score. Mickey Moniak, by the way, credit for a nice bunt in that ninth inning. Then a pass ball brought Andrew Knapp home to score, and Phillies win 6-5. So he literally walked home on a pass ball on a walk-off win. It's a beautiful thing. Phillies 3.5 games out of first place now in the NL East as the Braves have lost 2 in a row. There's 17 games left to play in the season. Phillies are 3.5 games out of first place in the NL East, 3 games out of the wild card. All right, that's enough about the Phillies. The Baltimore Orioles lost to the Yankees last night. But when the Orioles were leading the Yankees in the top of the ninth inning, I believe it was 3-2 at the time, and skies looked threatening, you saw the grounds crew on the field at Oriole Park at Camden Yards. And then you saw umpire crew chief Tim Timmons walk across the diamond and he was signaling like, get out. You get out. Get out of here. Leave. And he's signaling like that. And everyone's like, who the hell is he talking to? What the hell's going on? And then all of a sudden you start to see the grounds crew for the Orioles start to kind of look around like, is he talking to us? And he was. It appeared the grounds crew was getting thrown out of the game by an umpire. So then the speculation started to swirl. What was the grounds crew doing? What were they doing to get ejected? No one had ever seen a grounds crew ejected from a baseball game before. I've seen an organ player get thrown out of a game for playing 3 blind mice, and the umpire threw him out. That was pretty funny. Actually interviewed the guy. Pretty good kid. Anyway, I digress. So why would the grounds crew get thrown out? Were they talking to players? Speculation started. Were they taunting? Were they complaining about calls? What was by the grounds crew? It turns out that right after they got thrown out of the game, it started to rain. And then it turns out that they did not get thrown out of the game. Umpire Tim Timmons, who texted the Associated Press after the game, said, guys, I didn't throw out the grounds crew. This is how I'm imagining him saying. I've never heard him speak. Guys, I didn't eject the grounds crew. I didn't throw them out of the game. I just didn't want all 20 members of the grounds crew on the field behind the tarp at that time while play was still going on. And the infield was in on that play. That's why he wanted them to move, but didn't eject them. It did definitely look like they were ejected because they all left. They all walked up the right field line, first baseline, and they looked like they left. They eventually came back to put the tarp on the field. So anyway, that's what you got. Colin, glad we spent a first-round pick on Ben Simmons. Oh, sorry. Glad we spent a first-round pick on a good bunter, Mickey Moniak. Hey, whatever helps the ball club. As a member of the turf community, that was a disgrace. Shake my head. Hold on a second. Colin, I will wait for this answer. Colin, as a member of the turf community, are you a grounds crew member? Just bark twice if you're a grounds crew member. That's all. Or are you like me and you have turf in your backyard because you live in the city and you have a nice little city yard? I have turf in the backyard. It's lovely. It's absolutely lovely. Everybody, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening today. Had an absolute blast with you guys. We'll be back tomorrow to break down some more Eagles football, of course, as they're getting ready to kick off with the San Francisco 49ers coming up Sunday in South Philadelphia for their home opener. I am so ecstatic about that. Ooh, Colin, no. I am a golf course superintendent. Very nice. You know your turf, my friend. You know your turf. Thanks for watching, everybody. Thanks for listening. Much appreciated. My name is Marc Farzetta. Jim Hyden produced the program. This is a Buzz Sports Entertainment production. Be back with you guys tomorrow. I'll talk some more Eagles football ahead of You Can't Eject the Grounds Crew. Laugh out loud. I'm pretty sure the umpire can eject anybody. But I agree if you're just saying, oh, come on, you can't eject the grounds crew. I agree with that as well. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening, everybody. Have a great rest of your day. Be back with you guys tomorrow. I'll be on the two things real quick. I'll be on the Jacob Media YouTube channel tonight. That's the people I do the great post-game show with Derek Gunn, Devin Caney, John McMullen, and Lane Johnson. It'll be me, Devin, and Gunner tonight. We're going to be at Screwballs out there in King of Prussia. If you want to come out and say hello, feel free to stop by. Looking forward to it. I'll be out there for 6 to 8. I believe we're doing the show tonight. 6 to 8, we're doing the show. I'll tweet it out. So feel free to come on out tonight if you'd like. And also, special feature on the YouTube page, my YouTube page, at the Farzy Show YouTube page, from the great people of Overtime Promotions, my man Bobby Capone. I had a Q&A and hosted a virtual autograph signing the other night with Justin Scheller and Biddy Sham from League of Their Own. Stillwell Angel, you're gonna lose. He was 5 years old when they did that movie. And Biddy Schramm, who of course played the woman that the Tom Hanks yelled, "There's no crying! There's no crying in baseball!" Right? That thing. They were awesome. They had such a pleasure to talk to. Interviewed them, Q&A for an hour, and it's on the YouTube page if you guys want to check that out as well. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Have a great rest of your day, everybody. Take it easy. See you tomorrow. Bye.